Once again, good morning, class. Now that the checking of attendance and prayer are done, you may now turn off your cameras. And let's proceed to reviewing presenting your theology projects. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Our first pre-recorded project is by Mr. Tagorda. He introduced to us the biblical origins of marriage. Just let me know if you cannot hear the videos.
The biblical origins of marriage is shown in two parts, which are the Old Testament and the New Testament. I'll take on the Old Testament. In the book of Genesis, we are created in His own image, and we are called to love like God, which is loving one another unconditionally. Due to the loneliness of Adam, God created Eve and took the rib of Adam in order to create a kinfolk, which is taking the same genetics, DNA, blood type, as well as the physical characteristics. The kinship also represents a strong bond between man and woman. Marriage is rooted in creation and is part of God's original plan. He is also the author of marriage. It is also stated in the Holy Scriptures that men and women are created for one another and are meant to be. Now that we have covered that, let's now move on to the stages of Jewish marriage in the Old Testament. First is the contract or the betrothal stage, which we are responsible for one another. Secondly, we have the consummation stage or the chuppah stage, which the groom and the bride will consummate their marriage in the bride's chamber. Lastly, we have the 7 blessings and the marriage supper, which is a week-long celebration of marriage, while 7 blessings are recited over the couple. It's also good to note that the ideal woman is represented in the book of Proverbs. Thank you for listening and watching.
Okay, thank you for that, Lloyd. As it was stated earlier, Adam and Eve is created what we call a kinship. But although some terms such as indivisible, insolubility, and complementary are closely related terms, kinship is our ideal description for their close relationship. Again, let me emphasize that marriage is rooted in creation, and God is the author of marriage. Here are the stages of Jewish marriage. Since this was discussed, I will not elaborate on this further. Now let us move on to Mr. Tan's project.
John 2, verses 1 to 12 says that the wedding at Cana is one of the biblical foundations of marriage. It is said that the said marriage became valid because Christ attended, where he also did his first miracle. This foundation only strengthens marriage because this proves the validity of marriage, which is based on how Jesus Christ was present, just like how all other marriages are performed with his presence nowadays. Next, we have Mark 10 verse 9, which stipulates that there is no divorce and marriage shall always be valid. Hence, the reason why we only have an annulment. This verse suggests that once a man and a woman have been unionized through marriage, divorcing their partner is called adultery. As the verse says, therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate. And lastly, we have Ephesians. Ephesians centers on the idea of wives submitting themselves to their husbands, which is also one of the readings during a wedding ceremony. This also explains how a man should provide for his wife and become one flesh together.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Tan. Let me reiterate some of what your classmates said. So, first off, John chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. It was emphasized in this that through the presence of Christ, there is validity of the marriage. Next is our Mark chapter 10, verse 9. This explains the reasons why we only have annulments. Marriage will always be valid in divorcing their spouse, is what we call adultery. Now, let us review the video of Mr. Dathan Leung. His assigned topic is about the purpose of marriage.
The purpose of marriage is not only to unite man and woman together, but also to procreate and receive wonderful gifts from God. In the Bible, Genesis chapter 2 verses 23 to 24 states that man recognizes the woman as bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. A man leaves his father and mother to be with his wife, and the two of them become one flesh. This Bible verse tells us that God designed man and woman to be together instead of being alone, and form an inseparable union with each other. But what is the real purpose of marriage? Marriage is a sacred union, and it is God's divine plan of creation for us to have an exclusive, faithful, and lifelong partnership with the person we love. In a marriage, a married couple enters into a covenant, and their love is sealed and strengthened by God's love.
Okay, thank you for this, Dathan. His video is very relaxing. His voice as well is very relaxing. Okay, so as we have discussed last week, there are several concepts that revolve around the purpose of marriage. But let's just focus on what Dathan reported in his pre-recorded video. Marriage is known as a sacred union. It is an exclusive, lifelong, and faithful partnership with our spouse. Marriage is sealed and strengthened by God's love. After what we have discussed today, I hope you raise awareness and inform others, your loved ones, because it is important to spread the word of God. Okay, that's all. Thank you for attending our class today. And before I dismiss you, let us take a short photo op since this will be our last synchronous session for this semester. Open your cam, guys. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you guys so much. You may now go. Bye-bye.
Bye po, thank you po.